Good evening and welcome back for episode 113 of Mystery, Murder, and Mayhem. Tonight's episode is a bit of a humdinger of several stories, as my grandparents would say, but we're going to get into that in a minute. So, just a little chit chat first. How's y'all's weather where you're at? This week we've had some cooler temperatures, and I'm very appreciative of that. Last Thursday, it was only 74 degrees, and that's just unheard of for August in South Carolina. School is back in session as of today in my town. My youngest child, Nick, my little baby, he started ninth grade this morning, and on the way to school this morning, he said that he only has three more first days of school left after today. And I was like, yeah, you do. And, we were excited about it. But then when he got out of the car and closed the door, it hit me that he only has three more first days of school. And y'all, I cried all the way back home. Um, it, I'm not usually a sappy person, but I think menopause and getting ready for surgery, just everything happening at the same time has like really hit me. Now, Jax, he started last week at a brand new school, or it's a new school to him. He's in the third grade because you may recall last year my daughter and son-in-law bought a house that's very nice. They got a very good deal on it, and I'm proud of them. It's the next town over, so Jax transferred schools for this school year, and I was kind of nervous for him because, here where we live, it's a smaller school. And so where they live now, it's bigger schools. But he seems to be enjoying school more at the new school than he did here. And he said it's a way better school. So I'm happy for that. Now, as of today, I only have 43 days left until my surgery. And I'm hoping that since school has started and we're getting into this routine, I'm hoping that these days just keep flying by. You know, we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm getting ready for a whole new journey and a whole new me. And I like improving my health and my life. So I'm excited about that. Well, anyway, like I said, tonight's episode, it's a doozy of one, and it's kind of heavy. So before I start, I want to tell y'all something funny that was talked about in the craft and this group I'm in on Facebook. It's craft and crime related, like true crime related. Everybody in there is like big into true crime podcasts and all the documentaries and the ID channel and all of that. So someone had posted a decal that they made that said honk if a kid falls out. Well, you wouldn't think it would lead to hysterical conversation, but it did, because in the comments we started talking about seeing weird stuff on the road, and it started with a comment that said that explains why you see random shoes on the road. So then I replied to the lady that had posted that comment about how I had seen an adult sized croc. And I'm talking about croc shoes, not crocodiles. We don't have crocodiles in South Carolina. But anyway, this croc was like right in the middle of this busy intersection across from an all you can eat buffet. And I was just like, my imagination can get away from me. So I was thinking about like that person must have lost their shoe as they were running away from the buffet because the manager had chased him out after going back one too many times for another plate. Now, another person commented and she said that one time she saw a single sock in the road and thought there was a struggle. These are my people, y'all. Um, they get me. Now, my last comment on that was that over the weekend, and y'all, this is a true story, I swear. Over the weekend, I came to a stop sign near my house, and there was like an adult sized t shirt laying in the road. And y'all, my first thought, I swear to God, my first thought was that the person that owned this shirt had broken into one of my neighbor's homes and got caught by the homeowner. And as the burglar was trying to run away, the homeowner was holding on to the tail of the t-shirt, and it just came off over their head. Now, I know that probably didn't happen. I can't even imagine how a t-shirt ends up in the middle of a road at a stop sign, but it did. And we see weird stuff on the roads anyway. But I just kind of wanted to give y'all something to chuckle about before I move on to tonight's episode. Now, I'm going to be talking about 3 different cases tonight that are still active cases, meaning there's still someone under investigation. Um, so they're pretty heavy, but anyway, like I always say, I'm going to do follow-up episodes, when there's more information released. But the first one I'm going to talk about, you may have heard about this. It's an Oregon man who's being investigated by the FBI after a woman escaped from a dungeon of sorts that he had built in his garage. Now, I'm about to tell you what we know up to this point, plus some updates on a few other cases. So stick around. So this story broke last week when a woman escaped from this dungeon of sorts that was made from cinder blocks in the home of a 29-year-old Oregon man named Negasi Zuberi. I think I'm saying his name right. And since this woman escaped and talked to the authorities, the FBI are looking for more victims in other states. The one victim that we know of is from Seattle, Washington, which means he crossed state lines to kidnap her. And the way he did it is amazing. But when I say amazing, I don't mean like in the good way of amazing. Now, this woman who hasn't been identified, she told authorities that on July the 15th, just a couple of weeks ago, Zubari approached her to solicit the services of a prostitute. And he was posing as an undercover police officer, complete with a taser that he pointed at her, handcuffs which he placed on her wrists, along with leg irons, before placing her in the back seat of his car. And he also had police patches, a firearm, and other law enforcement equipment. And really, the woman, she just had no reason to believe that at that time that he was not a legit police officer. Now, once he put the woman in the back seat of his vehicle, he started making his way to his home in Klamath Falls, Oregon, which is 450 miles away from Seattle. Now, along the way, he'd stopped to sexually assault this woman. And somewhere along the way, the woman noticed this map application open on Zubari's phone. And it was at that point that she realized that things were going south, and this man was not a police officer, and she had been abducted. And when they got to the home in Oregon, he placed her in this cell or dungeon that he had constructed in his garage out of cinder blocks, and it had this big metal door. And he locked it from the outside and left her there. Now, can you just imagine for a minute how terrified this woman had to be? And I'm sure she knew that he was planning on killing her, and that had to be knowledge that paralyzed her with fear, because I can't even imagine being locked 450 miles away from home and not knowing what this man was about to do to you. But I guess, she used that fear and adrenaline from it to escape, or to make a plan to escape, and her plan worked. She told authorities that she started punching the security screen door, and she was able to break the welds on the door. And once she did that, she pulled the screen apart, or part of the way down, and she was able to climb through a small opening in the door, and she escaped. Now, once she was out of that cell or the dungeon or whatever you want to call it, and she got out to the street, she flagged down a passing motorist. Well, that motorist called 911, and the woman was then taken to an area hospital where investigators responded to a call for a sexual assault victim. Well, from there, investigators drove to the home and found blood on the wooden fence that the woman had climbed over during her escape. And I guess this proved to the authorities that the woman hadn't just made up some crazy story. And really, I mean, who could or would make up a crazy story like that? Um, it's almost like one of those movie type things, but this was real life for this woman. Well, authorities used cell phone technology to track down Zuberi, and he was found in another state. He was in Reno, Nevada, and they found him in a Walmart parking lot, and that's where he was arrested. Now, was he looking for another victim? I mean, maybe. We don't know that yet, but local authorities soon realized that this very well may have not been like the first time he had did such a thing. And at that point, that's when they called in the FBI. Well, the following day, which was July the 16th, police obtained a search warrant, and once they executed it, they found the makeshift sale, got all my all messed up, but along with the victim's purse, they found, that sale, and then they found the purse and other items in the garage. And get this, y'all, the house that Zuberi and his two kids, yes, he had two kids, the house they were living in is owned by the mayor of Klamath Falls and her husband. Now, can you imagine their shock when they found out their tenant was doing this in their home they owned? I mean, it's just crazy. Now, like I said earlier, the FBI are searching for more victims because they believe that this isn't the first time that he's done such a thing. Now, since 2016, Zuberi has lived in at least 10 states, and he's been linked to violent assaults in at least 4 states. Now, so far, he's been indicated by, or indicted, gosh, I can't even talk today. He's been indicted by a federal grand jury on 1 count of kidnapping and 1 count of transportation with intent to engage in sexual activity. Now, the FBI said that they believe that he targeted sex workers in Alabama, California, Washington, Oregon, Colorado, Utah, Florida, New York, and New Jersey. Oh, and Nevada. And this all happened between July 2016 and July of this year, 2023. So he's been at this for quite a while. Now, the FBI hasn't revealed how they linked him to these other cases, though. Now, Zuberi has went by multiple aliases like Sakima, and he went by Justin Heish and Justin Kwasi. And authorities believe that he's used several tactics to gain control of his victims, such as putting drugs in their drinks and posing as a police officer and soliciting the services of sex workers before he violently sexually assaulted them. And it's been believed that some of the assaults have been filmed to make it look like the assault was consensual. Now, if you were a victim or believe you know somebody that was a victim of Zuberi's, you can reach out to the FBI and you can call in tips at 1-800-CALL-FBI, which is 1-800-225-5324. And I'm going to have this number in the episode description tonight. Now, as an interesting side note, Zuberi once appeared on Judge Judy under the alias Justin Heish. And that episode aired in September of 2019. Now, the case that he was the plaintiff in on Judge Judy was where he was suing his children's mom, who he shared custody with. Now, the mother of the children showed up at his home to take the children home with her because she said that he was highly intoxicated. Well, a screaming match broke out, and that led to the mother pouring bleach on his business suits, and that damaged them. The mother countersued him because he allegedly filed a false restraining order against her and smashed her cell phone. Well, the mom lost her case, and Judge Judy ordered her to pay Zuberi $2,500 in damages. Now, there's some more to it, but I feel like it's just not relevant to this case at this point. Maybe later we'll find out that it was, but as of right now. But anyway, this is an ongoing case, so just know that when more is released, I'll be updating y'all. And I can't get over the things that people will do to hurt other people. No matter how many stories I read and documentaries I write or episodes that I write, um, I'll never be able to wrap my head around that. It's just nauseating, to say the least. I mean, go 450 miles to kidnap somebody. It's just, I guess maybe he thought he couldn't be traced down or something, but he was dead wrong, I guess. All right. So the second story that I'm going to talk about is the case involving Imani Roberson, and this is in Georgia. Now, Imani vanished from Rockdale County back in July, and she was last seen driving her white Mazda SUV on July 16th on Plantation Boulevard in Conyers, Georgia. Now, the night before she disappeared, she and her 4 children had had dinner with her mom, and when she got ready to leave her mom's home, the 2 oldest kids decided to stay the night with her grandmother. Now, the following day, her mom repeatedly called her, but she never got an answer. And she drove to the home, but there was nobody there. When she still hadn't heard from her daughter on July the 17th, she filed a report with the police. Now, here's something that I find amazing. A bee, like a bumblebee, set off a doorbell camera across the street from Robertson's house. And during the time that the camera was recording, you could hear a loud pop in the background, and then Imani's SUV speeds away. Well, many people have speculated that that loud pop was gunfire. That hasn't been proven as of right now. Now, on July the 27th, her SUV was found in a wooded area in Atlanta, but it had been set on fire and there wasn't much of it left at all. But then just this past Friday, the investigation came to a heartbreaking end when investigators announced that cadaver dogs had located Imani's body, but they didn't reveal exactly where she was found. Now, Imani was only 29 years old, y'all, and she was the mother of 4 children ranging in age from 1 month old to 11 years old. And it is believed that Imani was murdered and that her husband, Donnell Anderson, he's facing charges. Plus, they're searching for a second suspect. And it's also been revealed that blood that was found at Imani's home is what led them to their suspect. Now, Anderson was arrested for, Friday night at an apartment in Atlanta. And then on yesterday, it was announced, and this was just yesterday on Tuesday of this week, it was announced that a second suspect in the case had been arrested. And that suspect is Cedarius Glaze, and he's actually Imani's brother-in-law. And he was arrested yesterday morning. And he's being charged with tampering with evidence, concealment of a dead body, and arson. And authorities are saying that Glaze played a key role in the disposal of Imani's body. Now, like I mentioned, Glaze is Imani's brother-in-law, and that means he's Donnell Anderson's brother. Now, y'all, since this case first broke, since the first time I heard about it, it has just laid heavy on my heart, because when they announced they had found her torched SUV, I just had that feeling that this case wasn't going to have a happy ending, because I mean, torched vehicles or anything else set on fire is usually done to hide evidence. And then there's these 4 kids that will have to grow up with practically neither one of their parents. And we see this so often. It's just terrible and heartbreaking. And heartbreaking isn't really the word for it, but I'm just at a loss for words. Anyway, this past Monday, they held a bond hearing for Anderson, and it was denied. Or his bond was denied. Now I haven't heard anything on bond for his brother. Now, like the other cases I've talked about before, this one, you know, like I always say, I'll bring you updates as soon as I know them. But finally, tonight, I want to talk about the case of a missing person named Leondre Flynt. Now, Leondre is 21 years old and he's from Loganville, Georgia. He's been missing since July the 29th, and it's kind of an odd case, I guess you could say. Not too long before he went missing, he had just purchased a 2018 GMC Canyon truck, and he was so proud of that truck because that was his first major purchase as a young adult. Leandre's brother is saying that it's really odd because his brother wouldn't have bought a truck a few weeks ago and then just disappear like that. Now, the truck, it has been located. It was found abandoned on August the 1st, all the way up in Detroit, Michigan. And that's like 750 miles away from where Leondre went missing. Now, that same brother says that Leondre told him that that morning that he left, he was going to pick up a part that he had ordered online for a car that he was working on. And that's when he disappeared. And he never made it to that parts store. Now, another odd thing about this case is that Leondre had always shared his location with his siblings, and they talked on a daily basis. But suddenly, his location was no longer being shared, and his phone was turned off. And his family says this is very out of the ordinary for Leondre. Now, Leondre is 5'11", and he weighs around 140 pounds. He was last seen wearing a white sleeveless shirt, black jeans, and red Jordan slides. Now, if you see Leondre or know where he is, please give the Gwinette County Police Detectives a call at 770-513-5300, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 404-577-8477. And I'm also going to have these phone numbers in the episode description. Now, y'all, please, if you know anything, there's a family that's missing a very loved member of that family. So, if you know anything, give one of those numbers a call. Well, y'all, that's all I've got for tonight. I'll be with y'all next week with a new episode. And before that, if any of these or other cases I've talked about have updates, now be sure to check out the links in the episode description and those phone numbers that I mentioned that I'm going to put in there. And y'all come give me a follow on social media. Y'all have a good night.